When Donald Trump sat for his first deposition last year in New York Attorney General Letitia James's probe into the Trump Organization's business practices, he invoked the Fifth Amendment. A lot. I mean, we're talking nearly 450 times. Perhaps it was a smart move, however, because it seems that anytime Trump speaks under oath, he just can't help but incriminate himself. It is who he is. Yesterday, Trump did not invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. And considering that it is a civil trial, it would have been seen negatively by the judge. But perhaps he should have considered it. Because beyond the theatrics of the day from Trump, including attacking both Letitia James and Judge Arthur Engoron from the witness stand, Trump made a critical admission that is at the heart of the case. Trump admitted that the intent in providing the false financial statements with Trump's personal guarantee was to induce banks to loan him money. As the New Republic puts it, while it might not sound like much, the admission is key to the New York Attorney General's case, which hopes to prove that Trump deceived banks and insurers by massively overvaluing his net worth. Trump essentially admitted on the stand that these financial documents were produced with the express intent to induce lending. The Trump Organization was likely able to secure loans at far lower interest rates due to all the overinflated valuations. Last week, a banking expert testified that those favorable loan terms likely saved Trump and his company more than $168 million. Joining me now is Andrew Weissmann, former FBI General Counsel, MSNBC legal analyst, and co-host of the Prosecuting Donald Trump podcast. Andrew, Donald Trump's admission on the stand, given the fact that Judge Engoron has already found for Letitia James' office on the substantive questions, seems bizarre, a huge error. Is it just that he's got no self-control? Isn't this case over?
Yes. I mean, in terms of the outcome, I think the only issue is what are the kinds of remedies that the judge is going to impose. And I sort of have two thoughts on that. One is, Joy, very frequently witnesses who are not telling the truth may start off well, but as the day progresses, it sort of gets harder and harder to maintain focus on what the truth is and what you're supposed to be saying. And, the worst admissions by Donald Trump all happened in the afternoon, where, as he said, in the afternoon, he was like, yes, I agree. The intent of doing this was to induce them to loan me money. He was also asked, by the way, can you say, and are you saying now that the financial statements are true and accurate? That should be a softball. Joy, if I asked you, did you ever file things with a bank that are true and accurate? You'd be like, I don't even remember what they are, but of course I did.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, he was like, essentially his answer, I'm paraphrasing, was sort of, I'll get back to you. I mean, it's a softball, and he couldn't just say, of course that's the case. And I think it's because he was thinking, well, I know they're not, so I don't actually want to lie about that and adhere to what he had said in the morning. And I think the other part is his acting out and his behavior with respect to the judge, with respect to the prosecutors in it, I do think is relevant in terms of the remedy that the judge has to impose. So one of the things the judge will be deciding is whether Donald Trump can continue to do business in the state of New York. Should he still be here? Should he still be banking here? Should he still have access to customers in New York? And if you've got someone who's so unrepentant, who's so out of control, who so much doesn't care about the rule of law, it seems to me that the judge could easily weigh in his conduct here to say, you know what, this is not the kind of person, a recidivist, who we want to have preying on people in New York. So I think he hurt himself both substantively and in terms of his behavior.
Yeah.